Thinking of playing Death Ride Salerno, 29th Panzer Grenadier. So in the close assault phase for the Allied Army player turn, Allied Army player units may assault German units that are adjacent. Okay, let's go through this step by step. So first of all, obviously this is a declared assault here. The German unit is going to use reserve movement to move into the hex. There isn't anything extra about the dug-in. I think the dug-in basically goes to the hex. So in this time scale, there's nothing extra about getting into the dug-in. Well, that kind of fortification. But movement, it's a hill hex for a foot unit. So those soldiers for that unit they're dismounted. They have a movement allowance of 8. So it's 2 for the hill hex, any elevation. 2, and it's 1 for going down in elevation, so that's 3, plus 2 for the woods. So is that 5? I think that's it. I don't think there's an extra charge for moving adjacent. No, there's not. So it's 5. There's not an extra movement allowance for the fortification. So it's 5. Okay. So these are the defenders. Actually, I have to see. I'll put the marker in there now. So we have Germans there, different units, but both armored recon. By the way, there are, I don't know, somewhere between 7 and 10 combined arms modifiers, and one of them, interestingly enough, is recon. So if recon, so for all of these combined arms bonuses, well, that I can remember off the top of my head anyways, it's some type of unit like engineers or armor, obviously, or recon. If they are conducting an attack with an infantry type unit, you get the combined arms bonus. But here, so it's just German armored recon dismounted. And for the Americans, we have two identical engineer companies. So 2 American engineer companies, identical, assaulting 2 German dismounted armored recon platoons of different types. So for assault, basically it's units can use all their primary, secondary factors. They can use the best. I think this is a very general statement, but basically that's the fire combat table we've been using. Now we're going to be using the assault combat table. Still an odds ratio. It has its own die roll modifiers. By the way, we have to remember that the Germans are dug in there. So it's so it's fire on the left, assault on the right. So it's -2 for the Americans assaulting the Germans because they're dug in. So -2 die roll modifier right there just for the fortification. I got to remember that. Okay, so the general statement I was referring to is, I think, let's see, is it both or, I only see attacker, so the attacker gets to choose the best possible modifiers from this table. Actually, things that will be different is that now we're using the adjacent, so now we have that. Oops. Yeah, so now we're going to be using this this one right here. So, for example, when the Allies engineers are going to be, it's a soft target. So now it's going to be primary times 1, but secondary times 2, because that's the note right there. Multiple multiple for adjacent target. Adjacent target. All right, so you're going to add up all those, add up all the weapon factors. Add up all the weapon factors. Get a. Actually, it's basically the same procedure as fire. I'm going to get your odds column. It's the same, except of course different die roll modifiers, and in many cases you're going to have higher higher weapons factors because you are adjacent. Okay, so we'll see what we get here. So I want to I want to point it out again in passing real quick. Yes, use a calculator, use a scratch paper, but also understand. I mean, just look for all the shortcuts, right? These are identical. So figure 1 and just double it. Okay, the odds is definitely 1.2, so basically 1 to 1 or 1. Got some questions on the modifiers. So first of all, it looks like there are I don't even know what to call these, but these apply to the assaulted unit. I don't even know what to make of those yet. The very first one is defending unit is on hill 2. No idea what that means. I looked. I'm going to go ahead and assume that 2 is a typo and just shouldn't be there at all. The reason why I'm going with that is that on the terrain effects chart under hill, any level above clear bottoms, it says -2 for assault combat into a hill hex. There's no reference to hill 2 or anything else. What was that? Oh, it's just interesting that even for assaulting you get benefit for crossfire, so to speak. I thought that was interesting. It's also interesting that suppressed units can, suppressed units can assault at obviously at a penalty. Yes, that's it. So I have -2 for Dougie and -2 for the hill, and -1 for the woods. So -5. So 1 to 1. 1 -5. Ooh. All right, 7 minus 5 is 2. Ooh, no effect. All right. Okay, so unit suppression recovery phase, and you do this in order. So the allied player, in this case, reduces level of green suppression, and it's real easy. If you are not adjacent to the enemy, you recover 2 levels. If you are adjacent to the enemy, you recover 1 level. So of green, and green only. So this is a green 1. We know we get that. This is a green 2, but he's not adjacent to the enemy, so he recovers 2 levels. This is 1. Under here is 1, so it recovers. Here's 1. So that's all of that. And then you go to the second step is both players flip red to green side. So the red 1 flips to the green 1. And that is it. Now, of course, it might look, does this look very frustrating? The Germans caused all this suppression, and now it's just gone. Maybe in a sense, yeah, okay. In a gameplay sense, yes, but for an hour turn, and really the suppression here in this case is really just a slow up the advance. It wouldn't be any serious losses at all. This was more taking fire and then taking cover and deploying into a defensive formation maybe. Okay, so that's it. And it's the challenge, figuring out how to basically build up lasting effects against the enemy such that you eliminate units. This stuff rarely, very rarely, units being eliminated is what I'm referring to. Very, very rarely happens right away. Or I won't say right away. It rarely happens very quick. Now, of course, it happens a lot quicker when you get adjacent and you have assaults and you have more factors involved, more combat capabilities involved.